November is Native American History Month, and we would like to highlight the story of the Choctaw Code Talkers. Now, many of you have heard of the World War II Code Talkers, the Navajo, but not a lot of people have heard of the World War I Code Talkers, the Choctaw. And in World War I, if the Germans wanted to listen in to our phone conversations, this was fairly easy. They would find one of our phone wires, which was laid down on the battlefield. And there are thousands and thousands of miles of wire laid on any battlefield. Your headquarters have to communicate with other headquarters. They have to communicate with frontline troops. And so there are miles of wires everywhere. And so all the Germans have to do is find one of our wires, snip it, add theirs to it, put ours back together. We don't know anything is wrong and we can keep talking, but they are now listening in, and the Germans spoke perfect English. Now the 36th suspects this is happening. And so in October of 1918, they devise a little test, and they get on their phones and they talk about this shed next to them, this barn, being full of ammunition. And within 30 minutes, the shed was bombed. So they knew that the Germans were listening in. Now, credit for this idea is normally given to one of the officers of the 142nd Infantry Regiment. This is a regiment where most of the Native American troops had been put when the 36 was made. It was made of Texas and Oklahoma National Guard troops. So his idea was to put some of the Choctaw in his unit on the phone, and all messages would now be passed in Choctaw for the planning of a battle, which we call the Battle of Forest Farm. 2 days before we're due to launch the battle, a German officer is captured. And all that this German officer will say during his interrogation, other than his name and his rank, is what language are you speaking on the phone? Because that was what was important to him. Now, Choctaw is a difficult language. It is not like Spanish or French or Chinese or Japanese. It is not a language that you can easily learn. You must be born into the culture to be able to understand it. So the Choctaw pass messages, the Battle of Forest Farm is launched, and the Americans, the 36, and their French allies take the objective in 15 minutes because the Germans are completely unprepared for the attack. So this was a very effective weapon. Now the story of the Choctaw was sort of lost to time. However, in World War II, General Walker, who commanded the 36th Infantry Division, knew the story of the Choctaw. And he actually tried to get permission from the War Department to have Native American code talkers, but he was turned down. The Marines, however, did get permission and got the Navajo, and they became our famous Navajo code talkers. So that's the story of our Choctaw code talkers of World War I.